So Norm Finkelstein was in Arkansas over the past couple of days, it seems here. Norm Finkelstein on the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid sites. Here he is at a recent speaking engagement describing the ways in which the GHF distributes food and comparing it to the way that Jews were fed by the Nazis. So this is pretty powerful stuff from Norm.
Distribute the food. You know how they distribute it? They throw it on the floor. And then people are supposed to run for it, to reduce them to rats. Whenever I read about that, it reminds me, in the concentration camps, the food they put in a giant vat, it's almost all water. I'm referring to World War II now. It's almost all water. But there are a few vegetables in that vat of soup. And so what can you imagine? The people who are lining up, they're pushing each other, they're shoving each other, because you have to get to the head of the line, or it's just water. And that's what they do to the people of Gaza, reducing them to scurrying rats. And then as they go for the food, the Israelis, because they're scared, they're afraid, they start shooting at the people, killing them as they scramble and scurry for the food.
So, yeah, that is a pretty powerful description, and I think a pretty apt comparison. And, you know, there are a lot of people who would take issue with that. But you know who wouldn't, on the facts at least, is Bezalel Smotrich himself. So here he is. This was, of course, a flashback from May, but it's gone viral once again in recent context. We conquer, cleanse, and stay. On the way, we annihilate everything that still remains. From the backlog, May 19th, Bezalel Smotrich, Israel's Minister of Finance and de facto governor of the West Bank, describes the current situation in Gaza and the plan for the near future. The near future being, of course, now. So this is perhaps even more chilling a few months later than it was when he first said it. So as we record this, August 19th, exactly 3 months from when he originally gave this speech. We'll see how much of this came true and how much of this really validates Norm's characterization. This time, the operational method, sorry, let me restart this again. This time, the operational method is completely different from what it was in the past. No more raids with in and out incursions. We conquer, cleanse, and stay until Hamas is annihilated. On the way, we annihilate everything that still remains of the strip. Everything that still remains. Simply because everything there is just one big terror city. As part of the war, the IDF is moving the population from the combat zones and leaves nothing standing. I'm telling you, just look at videos of what's happening in the strip. The population will reach the southern part of the strip, and from there, God willing, to third countries as part of President Trump's plan. This is nothing less than a change in the course of history. The minimum required will reach the population simply so the world won't stop us. This is what I mentioned. They say to their own people, we're letting the minimum amount in so that the world won't stop us. And for almost 3 months straight, they let zero in. Zero. And the only reason they let up a little bit is because the international community was pressuring them to. And they tell their own people, this is why we're letting what meager aid in that we do. They tell that to their own people, simply so the world won't stop us and accuse us of war crimes. The IDF is finally waging a campaign against the civilian government of Hamas and not just focusing on the military infrastructure. So there you go. There you go. Saying this is not about eliminating combatants. This is a war on the civilian population, right? Technically, the mailman works for Hamas because they are the governing body in Gaza, but they are not a combatant. And what he's saying is we're going after the civilian infrastructure, eliminating ministers, officials, money changers. and those involved in the economic and governing system. For 2.5 months, we didn't allow humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. This put huge pressure on Hamas, and that's a good thing. He's saying it right there.
Right. That is a war crime. He has just confessed to a war crime. Every international body should be issuing an arrest warrant for him.
Of course.
He should not be able to leave the borders of Israel.
Exactly. And he says that into a microphone 3 months ago. 3 months ago. This put huge pressure on Hamas, and that's a good thing. But even with pressure, you need to know how to regulate it so it doesn't blow up in our faces. The IDF in recent days resumed maneuvering with full force to conquer the Gaza Strip. When the IDF moved the population from the last place where they still had a bit of food and our greatest friends in the world, those who support us, those who understand that we can't stop just before total victory and the annihilation of Hamas, when they ask us to help them help us and refute the lies of starvation, well, you just said you were cutting off humanitarian aid. This is how they just lie. I mean, they just speak as though the truth doesn't matter at all. He just said 2 sentences ago. We just paused it. They cut off all humanitarian aid, all food. We give them what little they need to keep the international community at bay. And now he's saying they're lies. We have to do it. What we'll enter in the coming days is the bare minimum. Okay, so you're saying it. You're saying it right there. It's just incredible. And yet you'll still have, this was today. Today, you had the editorial board of the Washington Post. Was it today or yesterday? It was one of the, yesterday, pardon me, the 18th. With every photo of a starving Gazan proving fake. How can you believe the famine claims? You still have this kind of denialism today, not by Douglas Murray, who submitted an article to the New York Post. This is the editorial board of the New York Post decides on August 18th to deny claims of famine and starvation in Gaza. When you have this guy on record 3 months ago, articulating that as a strategy. And yeah, of course, what Norm said, people always get uneasy about comparisons between the Israeli regime and the Nazis. Doesn't make me uneasy. And part of the reason why we feel like we should do segments like this is because as a couple of Jew boys ourselves, we have a certain license to say, no, that comparison that Norm, who's a Jewish man himself, obviously is making, not only should that not make you uneasy, you should be completely comfortable with that comparison because it's the absolute truth. And it's the truth as articulated, not just by Norman Finkelstein, but by Bezalel Smotrich himself 3 months ago. And 3 months later, everything he said turned out to be exactly true, to the point where now the Israeli military is not even allowing news media to film Gaza from the sky because they know what it will expose is the scope of devastation, once again, that Smotrich himself describes.
Yeah, well, understand, and this is part of why I try to maintain, it's not easy given my views, which are very public. I try to maintain some access to Zionists because you really have to find out what these people are talking about because it's so outside of the mainstream. They are sharing around, because I've seen this now with more than one. I first became aware of this by talking to somebody, but then I saw it other places. They're sharing like Instagram videos now of like supposedly active restaurants in Gaza, people, having just cafes, normal lives and cafes in Gaza as proof there's no genocide. Israel spends tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars on Hasbara. The overhead photos that we've seen of Gaza will tell you there is absolutely no way those videos are current. They're claiming like these are Instagrams of businesses that are currently operating like that. I would imagine, my guess would be, these are videos of those businesses before this war that are being shared out as if they're current. They're also sharing a lot of videos of food that the Israelis will not allow in and claiming that the UN is choosing not to bring food in when they've banned UNRWA from bringing in food. So they'll get one of their people to stand in front of these pallets. The UN won't bring in this food. They won't bring in this food. You cannot find any information like this, even in the New York Post, because if you scratch this a little bit, the paint comes right off, and it's obvious bullshit. Oh, yeah, no, they're just kind of sitting at street corner cafes there and having baba ganoush in the middle of Gaza. But understand, with the Zionists, this is why they're so insane. They believe this shit. I mean, not the ones in Israel. The ones in Israel are very comfortable with the idea that they're committing genocide, the majority, which is why Smotrich is able to come out and say something like that. American Jews, they just can't openly support genocide. So they have to be told that genocide doesn't exist. Yes, we got some videos. Put them on Instagram. Tell these people that this is what's happening in Gaza now. They're going to believe it. They're not here. How they know?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is some recent video from the air that TRT World was actually able to shoot. So this was August 13th. So that, oops, sorry, let me kill the volume on that because it's loud, the engine of the plane. But yeah, that's Gaza now. That's the real footage now that you see.
Oh yeah, no, they're all partying.
Look like a thriving restaurant scene there.
They're having pitas with tahini.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. At that.
But I will tell you, because I tried, you show this kind of shit to a Zionist producing that kind of evidence, they'll tell you it's fake. They'll tell you it's propaganda. They'll tell you it's Jew hate. They'll tell you it's Qatari.
Yep. Look at that. Now they pan up.
Yeah, it looks like a desert.
Incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a desert, like nothing there.
Of course.
These look like geographical formations.
Yeah.
They don't even look like buildings.
No, they don't look like cities. Doesn't look like civilization. And yet you still have some kind of denialism coming, from, and kind of a theme of the stream today is that a lot of the denialism is coming mostly from American circles. Because, a lot of Israelis are on board with this, number one. And, the ones that aren't seem to be wanting this to stop so that their hostages can come back. And then you have a small minority of Israelis, like we showed a couple of them here, who are speaking out on humanitarian grounds. But if you look at the Israeli response to the Netanyahu government, certainly they know that the hostages' security is the last priority of the government, and that the first priority is that what we just saw, the cleansing of the Strip and the expansion of Greater Israel. And so, yeah, what Norm said rings totally true, according to Smotrich himself. And it's incredible that you still have some people, like I said, mostly in America at this point, who can absorb something like this and say, no, that's not true. That's not true. Every photo of a starving Gazan proving fake. That the editorial board, I would love to meet them. Love to meet that crew, the editorial board of the New York Post. They found it necessary to come out.
I promise you, and this is the funny thing. The Zionists will share that with you, even though most of them are Democrats who wouldn't use the Post for their birdcage.
Please clap.